Thank you for tuning in. Today's vlog will be a tutorial on how I set up my heavy-duty Singer sewing machine. This is my baby, y'all. I've had this sewing machine for maybe like 5 years now, and it hasn't failed me yet. Also, I must note that I'm self-taught. I taught myself how to work this machine. I taught myself how to thread it. I taught myself how to sew wigs on it. I am self-taught. So I'm going to show you guys how to thread this beautiful machine, so you won't have to struggle like I did. In today's vlog, I'm going to be walking you through step by step on how to thread your Singer heavy duty sewing machine. Now this version is a 4423. I've had this sewing machine for maybe about 4 years now, 4 or 5 years, and I love this thing. I am self-taught. I taught myself how to thread the machine, the top and the bottom. I taught myself how to make wigs on this, and I'm going to give you guys a very beginner-friendly walkthrough on how to set up your machine. Let's get started. So you don't really need too many supplies. I have these pre-wound bobbins that I love so much, but y'all need to learn how to thread the bobbins manually on your own. I have my empty bobbin case right here. I have a spool of thread that I'm going to use to be threading the bobbins, and I just have these friskers, my handy dandy scissors. These pre-wound bobbins, such an amazing cheat code. You can get these from Amazon. I will link these in the description box for you guys. And I'll also link my thread. I just go to Joann Fabric and get these. The dual duty, all-purpose polyester thread, 100% polyester. Thread is so important. You can't use any type of material because it can mess up your machine. Your threading won't be as tight. Whatever you're sewing, the thread can come loose if you don't have the right thread. So 100% polyester thread, period. In this step, I'll be showing you how to thread your bobbin for the bottom part of the sewing machine. To begin threading your sewing machine, you're going to remove what is called the spool pin cap. And you're going to take your thread and place it on the spool pin. You can take this paper off or not, it really doesn't matter. Most times I just push it through, it'll break. You're gonna wanna keep your spool in place, so we're gonna put our spool cap. Next, we're just gonna thread our thread inside of thread guide number 1 at top. Next, we're gonna wrap the thread around this metal thread guide counterclockwise. That's what this diagram is trying to illustrate to you. Counterclockwise is to your right. So we're gonna take our thread and wind it counterclockwise. And you don't want to tie it too tight. Next, we're going to thread the bobbin. With this step, you want this hole on your left side. To thread the empty bobbin case, you'll turn it on its side. Now that the bobbin case has a piece of thread in it, we're going to pull it over to the spindle. This is the spindle. As you're pulling the bobbin case over, you want to keep the thread in the hole on the top. You don't want it facing the bottom like this. No, you want to keep it on top. Place it on the spindle till you hear it click. And then you want to push the spindle over to your right. Next, we're going to thread the bobbin. In order to thread the bobbin, your sewing machine must be turned on. The next step here is to simply press down on the presser foot, and the bobbin will just begin to wind itself. Once you get a bit of thread wound up, you want to cut any excess thread that's hanging out the top. It'll just prevent anything from tangling. Typically, the spindle will stop itself once it gets full. That's what this white part is for. It regulates how much thread gets onto the bobbin case. I usually just look for if it's full or not myself, because if you do let the bobbin case get too full sometimes, the bobbin case will crack. So I usually go until I see the thread actually touching this white part, and then I just stop. After you're done threading your bobbin, you want to push the winding spindle back to the left. So now we've wound our bobbin for the bottom part of the sewing machine. Next, what you're gonna do is follow the thread guides. They're numbered on the machine. This is number 1. So we're going to guide our first piece of thread through thread guide number 1. So what we do here is take the thread and put it at the top of the middle part. That's where the open guide is. We'll just sink it in here, like so. Moving on to thread guide number 2. After you've placed the thread in thread guide number 1, we're going to go around this middle part of thread guide number 2. Wrap it around, and if you look closely, you'll see a second metal flap here. You want to make sure that you are placing your thread inside of that little flap. Now that we have our thread going through the thread guide number 2, now we move down to thread guide number 3. We're simply pulling the thread down into this slot here. Now that our thread is down past thread guide number 3, we simply follow thread guide number 4. As you can see, 4 goes down and up just like a hook. That's exactly how you're going to maneuver your thread. As you're pulling it down and up in thread guide number 4, you want to keep your thread on the right side of this metal piece inside. We've now reached thread guide number 5, and as you can see, thread guide number 5 directs you to go around and down, similar to thread guide 4. When you go around, you want to go around this metal piece, like so. You want to move the thread around this metal piece, and you want to make sure it gets captured in this groove inside. So you want to hook this piece of thread into that metal piece and continue to go downward. You continue to pull the thread down to thread guide number 6 at the bottom. Thread guide number 6 calls for you to loop the thread in this metal piece here. It has a hook at back that you hook the thread to. So as you pull down, you take the thread and loop it at back. Like so. After you've put your thread through this big silver piece here, you want to secure it behind this smaller piece. It's kind of like a hook. So all you want to do is tuck it . Now on to threading the needle. So this machine, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I don't use the automatic threader. That's what this part is. This is supposed to hook the thread automatically. There's a few steps that go to this, but I think it's really cool to know how to thread the needle manually. So all you do, you make sure that your thread is still looped behind this metal piece. And you want to thread the needle at the front. A good tip to use is putting your finger behind the hole of the needle so you can see where the hole is. is inserting the bobbin. The first thing we're going to do is remove the bobbin cover plate. You want the thread to be facing your left. So if you pull it, you want the bobbin to be spinning counterclockwise. So the thread is on your left hand side, just like this. So we're going to place it inside. And remember, we want to make sure that the bobbin is pulling counterclockwise to this metal piece here. There's a groove here that you want to pull your thread through. Right here. So as you pull your thread, you want to sink it into that groove and pull it over counterclockwise. If your bobbin is spinning counterclockwise like this, you have done it correctly. So ultimately, we want these two pieces of thread both to come through this hole right here. Next, I'm going to show you how to achieve that. To combine the threads from the top and the bottom, we're going to utilize this lever here. So to connect them, we're going to pull it towards us, going counterclockwise. So make sure your thread looks as so. And you want to pull the white lever clockwise towards you. Next, we're going to pull the thread over until the top needle rises back up. The next step that I just take my scissors and I bring all the thread out from the bottom. Until I see an open knot. I pull that knot up which is the thread from the top and the bottom coming together. I pull it all up and out. And there you have a threaded machine. So ultimately, you're bringing the thread from the bottom up into this hole, along with the thread from the top. Ultimately, what you're doing is just catching the bottom thread in order to pull it to the top through this hole here. The top thread is already up top, so the whole purpose of this was to bring the bottom thread to the top as well. So now you're ready to sew. Don't forget to put your cover back on the bottom casing. Now you're all finished. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope I went slow enough for you. I know how it is trying to teach yourself stuff. And a lot of the tutorials that I found when I was learning, they went so fast. So I just made sure that I went as slow as I could, thoroughly explained everything the best way that I could. If you guys have any questions, hit me up in the comments. I will get back to you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Don't forget to check that description box below for everything that I've used. And I'll see you in the next one.